That's incredible. So you just mentioned skincare. We're talking about organs. Are there other technologies or scalable platforms for humans using this research from the axolotls and the way they can regenerate?
I mean, the whole animal is fascinating.
Yeah.
Almost every organ that you can think of
Hmm.
regenerates. So, by studying individual organ, there are potentials to study uh, therapies for heart or lung or kidney or liver diseases and regeneration potential there as well, including spinal cord and brain. Now imagine you
Yeah.
lose one third of your brain, and you may be kind of not performing very well for a few days, but like within a month, you get a new brain and you can start doing everything that you were doing before. Uh, that is completely unheard of when it comes to mammals and humans, particularly. So there is a lot of potential.
This is the Helix Exchange, the first podcast about the business of genomics.
Welcome to the Helix Exchange, the first podcast about the business of genomics and regenerative biology. Today, we explore discoveries that not only expand human biology, but could also create entirely new industries and investment opportunities. Our guest is Dr. Priyag Murawala, whose work on axolotl regeneration is helping us understand how nature's blueprints could be harnessed to transform medicine, biotech, and even technology platforms. Dr. Murawala, or do you prefer Priyag?
Either
Welcome.
is fine. Thank
Uh,
you.
All right,
Thank you for
Prayag, we
having
would
me.
like to start with getting to know you. What would you say is the biggest thing in your own personal DNA or experience that drew you to the area of genomics?
Well, there are a lot of interesting biological phenomenon that happens in nature, and as we learn more about them, uh, we there is just so much more to discover, basically, and it's this discovery that drives me towards science. And in this particular case, my lab works with axolotl. It's a salamander that can regenerate its body parts. You can cut their legs, they will make a brand new leg. You can cut their tail, they will make a new tail that also contains spinal cord. You can injure their internal organs, including heart, lung, liver, kidney, spinal cord, and you can even remove one third of brain, and they'll make a new one. So I don't think anything can get more exciting than this.
I agree. I was thinking about asking what drew you to regenerative biology, but what you're telling us right now is so fascinating that I'm drawn now to regenerative biology. I don't know why I got my master's in public health. I should have been working with you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Now, Prayag, was there a pivotal moment in your research or career that crystallized your focus on regenerative biology?
Yes, absolutely. After my PhD, when I was looking for my career direction, particularly for my postdoctoral research and then subsequent lifelong career, that is where I was trying to narrow down on one particular question that would fascinate me enough so that I can spend my rest of the life studying that. And that is when I came across this tissue regeneration ability of axolotl. And the moment I saw it, I was like, this is what I want to do. And here I am now. I have been doing this for the last 15 years. Uh, and there is still so much more to discover.
I think that's so smart that you discovered what your passion is. I think a lot of people get into something and they're not really sure, but you looked at this axolotl and said, this is remarkable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, the moment I saw it, I was like, I want to work with this. But then, the next stage was basically reaching out to someone who was already working in this domain.
Yeah.
And luckily, I got the break to work in such lab and
Mm.
then train myself more in this area. And for the last 5 years, I'm running my own independent laboratory,
Oh, wow.
studying axolotl regeneration.
That's fantastic. So let's move from what sparked your interest, because you just mentioned your lab, to the tangible breakthroughs happening in your lab today.
So, my lab studies various aspects of body part or structural regeneration in axolotl. This includes axolotl limb regeneration, axolotl tail regeneration, and axolotl kidney regeneration. I first started working on limb, And the question that we were asking is, a limb is a complex organ. It is made up of many different tissue types. You have fibroblast, bone, muscles, nerves, blood vessels. How do each of these cells contribute towards limb regeneration? And is there one fundamental cell type that is the key towards axolotl limb regeneration? And the work that we did essentially showed that fibroblast cells, which are like sprinkled like salt and pepper across all our body, these are the cells that go on and contribute towards this first step of regeneration, which we call blastema formation. Blastema is when you make an amputation of limb, and then after a few days, a soft, mushy tissue emerges, which is like a conical shaped structure, which we call blastema. Now, scientifically, blastema contains cells basically that have all necessary information to form a fully functional and patterned limb. So the question that we were asking is, which cell type is contributing to the blastema formation? And we narrowed it down and showed that fibroblasts are one of the most essential cell type that forms the blastema.
Wow. Has that been one of the most surprising insights or findings from what you've been working on?
Absolutely.
Sounds like it.
So what we also discovered is that in the process of making those blastema cells, fibroblast cells go back in their history and then they acquire embryonic identity, like when the very first time limb was developing. So we have certain transcriptional signatures, certain gene expression, and these cells go back to that embryonic identity and then go on and recreate the whole limb. And in the process of doing that, fibroblast cells not just make new fibroblasts, but they also make bone and tendon cells. And that is something very unique to axolotl and does not happen in humans. And that is why we do not regenerate.
Yeah, I really wish we did.
Yes, absolutely.
I know a lot of people would join us who are very envious of the axolotls. Can you share specific examples of axolotls regenerating limbs, organs, brain, or spine, and pick which was most fascinating to you?
So I think they are all fascinating in
Okay.
their own way.
Right.
The primary reason we study limb and tail is because they are on the periphery of the body. They are
Right.
not the most essential organ. So you can
Hmm.
cut the whole limb and it's not that animal is going to die, because also the animal can regenerate. So they are going to make a brand new leg and tail. And let me tell you one funny anecdote, and that is these animals, when they are kept together, they eat each other's legs and tail.
Oh
They
my
like to
goodness.
nibble upon their siblings' legs and tail. How wild is that?
It's really wild. They're
So
like, they're going to grow back anyway, so we can do this.
exactly, they're gonna grow it back, so they don't mind losing one leg or tail.
Well, so it's
What a
fine.
big deal.
That is fascinating. And isn't it interesting that they somehow know this,
They
right?
somehow know this, and the very interesting thing is when you think about a leg or an arm, you have an upper arm, you have a
Mhm.
lower arm, and then the hand plate, and the no matter where you amputate across this three structure, the limb knows where the amputation is made and they only regenerate what is lost. So somehow they carry this kind of a positional information to know where they belong, and also a patterning information of what kind of pattern needs to be generated, because as we understand, in the upper arm we have only one bone, that is humerus. In the lower arm you have two bones, radius and ulna, and then as you go towards hand plate you have a lot of many different small bones, which are carpal, metacarpal and digit bones. So they need to also know these fibroblast cells also carry this information that they have to only make certain structure. So this is very fascinating for us.
It really is. Now, let's talk a little bit about suspending the constraints of time and money and possibility. What would be the biggest thing that could come out of your work for the benefit of humanity? Just a little question.
Yeah, it's a tiny one. So I think that's a great question. And I mean, if you ask someone naively, everyone will say, oh, that would be wonderful if we can start regenerating our legs. But I would be happy if we can achieve another thing, and that is axolotl, when they are injured, they don't form fibrotic scars. They
Okay.
heal their wounds without fibrosis. And once again, these fibroblast cells are the key to to either heal without scar, or as it happens in mammals, it heals with scar. So
Mm.
if we understand fibroblast enough, one key thing that can come out in a nearby future would be if we can control fibrosis. If you can
Okay.
control that, I think that has a huge implication for so many people and so many families.
That would be huge. Now,
Yeah,
which is this the regenerative capability that excites you the most in terms of its potential impact? What you were just talking about with the fibrosis?
absolutely. I mean, most of us don't realize the primary reason for human
Mhm.
death is actually fibrosis.
Wow.
It is because as we get old, our fibroblasts produce very stiff extracellular matrix. It's the material that is outside of cell and makes the our structure. And this stiffer ECM over the period of time leads to fibrotic organs. So while you may die because of heart or kidney, one of the leading cause of death, and in fact, 45% of human death happens because of fibrosis. So this is the single most uh, causal reason for human death. So by understanding or controlling the fibrotic environment, I think we can significantly improve human health, not just in terms of cosmetics and skincare, but
Oh,
also like internal organs. Like if we can control them, then we can reduce the suffering that many humans go through.
that's incredible. So you just mentioned skincare. We're talking about organs. Are there other technologies or scalable platforms for humans using this research from the oxalotls and the way they can regenerate?
I mean, the whole animal is fascinating.
Yeah.
Almost every organ that you can think of
Hmm.
regenerates. So, by studying individual organ, there are potentials to study uh, therapies for heart or lung or
Mm.
kidney or liver diseases, and regeneration potential there as well, including spinal cord and brain. Now imagine you
Yeah.
lose one third of your brain, and you may be kind of not performing very well for a few days, but like within a month, you get a new brain and you can start doing everything that you were doing before. Uh, that is completely unheard of when it comes to mammals and humans, particularly. So there is a lot of potential.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, about the spinal cord injuries. I've had
Yeah,
people in my life that have become paralyzed. I used to work in adaptive physical education, and I work with people who are quadriplegics, paraplegics, and I've been wondering about this. So that is a very exciting area.
absolutely. And once again, those people who suffer spinal cord injury,
Yeah.
one of the primary reason why spinal cord neurons don't bridge well is fibrosis. It is
Okay.
because fibrotic scars have formed, so neurons cannot go and build the connections that is needed to regain those functions. So, by understanding how we can control the fibrotic scars, we could probably help all those quadriplegic or paraplegic human beings.
That would be amazing. Now, let's talk directly to investors. Where could this foundational biology create new industries?
Oh, this is a fantastic question.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple of angles to this question. I'll try to dissect it out one by one. One is axolotl extracellular matrix, that the material that lives outside of cell is, we understand that it is pro-regenerative. And there is already an industry that harnesses axolotl skin to produce axolotl ECM, which is used in human therapies. The other way one can understand this is if we understand fibroblast well enough, fibroblasts can then be categorized into pro-regenerative fibroblast and pro-fibrotic fibroblast. And then the question is, can we target pro-fibrotic fibroblast and kill them? and support survival and expansion of pro-regenerative fibroblast. Now, towards this, there is another company that is working towards developing an immune cell therapy where those immune cells are specifically targeted towards fibrotic fibroblast. So the immune cells will go and kill those fibrotic fibroblast, and thus it improves the fibrotic situation of an individual.
Wow.
And so there are multiple ways one can think of how we can improve human health and the whole fibrotic situation.
That's incredible. Now, Prayag, how does foundational regenerative biology create opportunities for entirely new businesses, much like genomics has become a technology powering AI, diagnostics, and predictive platforms?
So once again, I think when we think about regenerating human limbs,
Hmm.
uh, we need, I would take it as a car that is defective.
Mm,
Now, if you were to, you are the first time approaching a machine that is not functioning.
right.
And if I ask you, figure out what is the problem could be with gear, clutch, or any other part of the car. It's very difficult to understand by looking something non-functional, how to make it functional. But if you have an example of a working car or working machine, you can then look what is the role of each spare parts that goes inside that machine to make it work. Now, by understanding that and then going back to the defective one, in this case the defective is naturally the human because we cannot regenerate our limbs or other organs. So by studying axolotl and by understanding the cellular and molecular process with which axolotl utilizes its capability to regenerate, we may gain an understanding why humans are so poor at regeneration.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, I was looking at the pictures of the axolotls, and is it odd to say that I think they're very cute?
Oh, they are absolutely cute and they are favorite. They are the crowd puller. I mean,
Yes.
today they exist in uh, the Mexican 50 peso bill. They also
Oh,
exist in
oh.
very popular video game Minecraft.
Oh, that's probably where I've seen one. My daughter used to play Minecraft, and when I
Yeah.
looked it up, I said, "I swear I've seen this somewhere before."
So they are gorgeous, amazingly cute animal, and kids particularly just love to see them.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Let's talk about how understanding basic biology directly can inform market-ready innovations.
So, by understanding, how does axolotl fibroblast acquire that embryonic state that I was mentioning earlier?
Right.
What kind of secret ingredients would promote those kind of behavior for human fibroblast cells? If we can identify that magic cocktail, there is a great hope for reducing fibrosis and promoting regeneration in humans. And I think next couple of decades are going to be spent studying that, and I am looking forward to the breakthroughs that's going to happen in the future.
Prayag, are there markets or applications that are currently overlooked or misunderstood in regenerative biology?
So I don't think at this moment it's completely overlooked. However, we need more financial support to understand axolotl biology. So once we do that, I think more future therapies could emerge. As such, I think whatever is possible in terms of using the axolotl ECM for the marketing purpose or industrial purpose, or for example, using the immune therapy to target the bad fibroblast, the fibrotic fibroblast, people are working towards that, and there is a huge amount of investment also going in those direction. But I think one thing, to specifically answer your question, one thing that where I can say we do not invest well enough is understanding axolotl potential, or by understanding what kind of molecules axolotl produce that promotes this kind of a pro-regenerative effect in axolotl.
Mm,
If we understand that, if the investment goes there and if we can identify certain those secret ingredients,
Yeah.
I think that is where a huge investment opportunity lies in the future.
Prayag, speaking of accelerating the answers, which technologies that you use, AI, CRISPR, synthetic biology, could accelerate the impact of your discoveries?
The fact is, today's science is so multidisciplinary that it's not that we only use AI or we only use CRISPR. We use everything that is available to us. That includes AI, that includes CRISPR, that includes synthetic biology. This is routinely deployed in our laboratory. And uh, I think the future is also going to be the same, where the next generation of students will also have to master multiple technologies across different disciplines so that we can drive tomorrow's discoveries.
How do you see AI contributing to pattern recognition, molecule discovery, or even hypothesis generation?
So, when we think about um, tissue regeneration, and as I was mentioning earlier, uh, in any organ regeneration, it's not one cell type that does everything.
Right.
There are a lot of different cell types that come together. They do a crosstalk between them, and that
Mm,
is what leads to a very dynamic cellular environment where, for example, in case of limb regeneration, you have immune cells moving in first. They would kind of clear up the ground. They would kill all the dead cells. They would remove the debris. They would go away. Fibroblast will take over. Fibroblast will achieve embryonic state. Then they would go on and make new bone and tendon and ligaments, etc. So this is a highly dynamic process where multiple cell types are involved. Now, when I was studying this process and I was asking how many different genes are differentially regulated in this process. Now, any organism has roughly 22,000 genes, and axolotl, during the process of limb regeneration, almost 10,000 genes are differentially regulated. Now, these 10,000 genes also exist in different stoichiometry number. Some genes would be expressed in 10 copies, some would be expressed as 1,000 copies. So the numbers that we have, and this is just I'm talking about transcriptional signature, there are also other non-coding RNAs, small RNAs, proteins. There is just so much information, and all this information is beyond human brain's comprehension. We cannot fathom dealing with this billion digit numbers or permutation combination that's happening. Now, this is where AI and the next generation of generative AI would be extremely useful to identify. Now, we know that 10,000 genes are differentially regulated,
right.
but the biggest question we have in front of us is which one is the most important gene here, which one is
Right.
the most important protein here, which one is the most important secreted ligand which is doing the crosstalk between cell type. Can we utilize it in human context to improve regeneration? Now,
Mm,
while dealing with this huge diversity of numbers, uh, it's beyond human comprehension, humans' ability to understand this.
right.
And that is where AI would be extremely useful to generate new hypotheses or help us answer what was the molecule that triggered the subsequent cascade so that the subsequently all these different genes were differentially regulated.
Mm.
And I think it has a huge potential, and I look forward to the future.
Yeah, me too. How do you think about IP in a field where much of the biology is still discovery driven?
I think IP is an important part of any scientific research.
Mm,
Uh, Now, of course, we are entering in a very interesting era with AI.
yeah.
If AI help me with a good hypothesis, do I own the IP or does the AI own the IP?
Oh,
And I think some of these questions will be played out in tomorrow's patent courts, and we'll have to see what the outcomes are. But in my opinion, even when we think about AI, one of the key question is AI on its own is not able to do the task. AI is only able to do the task based on what we are asking to the AI, isn't it? So it's about different people and their logical reasoning ability to ask good questions. And I think AI would be just going to be another tool in the future in this kind of IP generation. And of course, IPs needs to be patented. The intellectual property needs to be patented and protected so that the discovery science can go on. Um, I think there is a lot of potential, as I say, in discovering new molecules or new ways of therapies, and all of that would lead to the future IP and patents, in my opinion.
Let's talk about what you hope our audience takes away. So, what's the biggest insight you hope our audience takes away about regenerative biology as a foundation for new industries, investment opportunities, or the future of medicine?
Thank you for the question. I think the foundational opportunity lies in understanding axolotl biology well enough. Once we do that, then we will be able to answer whether there is one molecule or one ingredient that you can apply across different organs, or does individual organ have their own secret recipes for regeneration. Now, this is something that has not been studied at all. There are very few labs in the world that studies axolotl, first of all. So I think there is a huge opportunity by studying individual organ and comparing them to understand what are the common mechanisms of regeneration in the same species versus what are the divergent mechanisms which are organ specific. And that would be the next gold mine, in my opinion.
Now, if you could nudge one stakeholder, a policymaker, an investor, or a scientist to act differently tomorrow, what would that be?
We need more investment in fundamental science.
Oh,
Absolutely.
interesting.
Fundamental science, uh, there is a huge pressure, and I understand there is a huge pressure to translate the finding, but we cannot start repairing car we don't understand, basically.
Exactly.
So we need to invest more in fundamental science so that we can understand how axolotl regenerates. And once we do that, then I think we have a hope to repair what what is lacking in humans and how we can promote regeneration in humans.
Now, Prayag, do you have any advice that you would give to early stage researchers, entrepreneurs, or investors that are entering this field?
These are just different questions, in my opinion. For researchers, I
Sure.
think my advice would be follow your passion. I think ask the most important question
Mhm.
and do what you can to solve it, because there are a lot of tools available. We are entering in a super exciting era where single cell omics technology, spatial transcriptomics technology, these technologies allow unprecedented insights into the process
Mm,
of tissue regeneration. So ask the most difficult question.
okay.
Don't shy away from that. In terms of the investors, I think they need to pay more attention towards organisms such as axolotl, because there is a lot of potential out there in wild and in nature. There are a lot of unique phenomenons, and this unique phenomenon, when very well studied, leads to breakthrough. For example, the current GLP-1,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Ozempic, was basically discovered from a lizard, essentially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's not that by studying humans we are going to find the solutions of tomorrow. There are a lot of interesting organisms out there in wild. Axolotl is just one of them,
Right.
and investors needs to pay attention what kind of research is being done in all these different organisms that already carry this kind of unique abilities.
Now, what about for entrepreneurs? What advice would you give them in regards to this field?
That's a difficult one because entrepreneurs are usually swamped with very little money and they have to perform a
That's
lot.
that's true.
And we are trying to bridge the basic science to the translational science.
Mhm.
So I think they need to keep an eye, that's for sure. And the moment they find something exciting which is worth translating, I think they need to jump on it. And I think it's a very different ballgame when it comes to entrepreneurship, because it requires not just producing something new, but making sure that it's widely acceptable in the community and it's profitable. I think the business runs on profit. No matter
Yeah.
how exciting the discovery is, if it's not profitable, that's going to die out. So I think for them, also, I think I would definitely say that they have to give their best and they need to push the boundaries and create the market if it doesn't exist.
Right. What would you say about collaboration? That if you're an entrepreneur coming into this space, you need to be able to work with the scientists and the investors. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a lot of potential for collaboration. For example, you don't have to sacrifice axolotl to harvest the skin. You could probably nowadays technologies exist so that you could produce the skin in vitro without sacrificing an animal. That's one way you could do that. There are many other things that can be done by harnessing the importance of or understanding the potential of some of those ECM modulating enzyme. I think there is a huge market out there. So that it's not just about wound healing or regeneration, but also using some of these unique properties that axolotl carries. There are different niche markets that can be applied, and I think there is a great potential for collaboration.
Oh, that's great. Now, that kind of goes into my next question. You mentioned the lack of money and specific research. Can you envision working with private industry to answer some of these basic research questions?
Oh, absolutely. I
Oh,
think
great.
yeah, I think if there is a sufficient interest, I think a more focus driven research can be done in terms of fundamental science as well. The challenge in the current scenario is, uh, as an academician, we are constantly pressured to publish. Now, in terms of publications, uh, it takes very rigorous science to publish something. Now, I'm not saying that rigorous science is not needed for industry, but I think industry is more driven in terms of profit, and they would not spend as many years trying to understand the same thing that academician spends. So, by industrial partnership, I think there is a great potential to accelerate the discovery and findings that's possible, because that would free us from the pressure of publishing and rather allow us to pursue more interesting question and move on to the next one.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Well, Prayag, thank you for joining us on the Helix Exchange. Your work on axolotl regeneration shows us how basic research can unlock transformative opportunities across medicine, biotech, and emerging platforms. And to our audience, like us, follow us on @Genomics Media across all your favorite platforms. Prayag, thank you so much again. This is just fascinating. I'm just so excited about what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I think I had wonderful time chatting with you, and I hope your audience can also have a good time with this conversation that we had.
I'm sure they will. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.